Seatbelts. Seatbelt legislation has changed over the years. My very first car was a 1961 Mini. Didn't even have seatbelts in it. I think I remember welding some mountings in it. Anyway, I need to put seatbelts in my Gentry, my Vitesse-based special, and I am not necessarily following the latest guidelines, but I am, if you get what I mean. What I need it to be, I need it to be secure. I need them to be in the right position. I'd like them to be bolted as close to the chassis as possible in a very strong area of the car, and I'd like the belt to be sitting nicely on my shoulder so that it doesn't keep sliding off. And I'm going to use Inertia Reel seat belts. So that's my plan, and this is how I'm going to go about it. So first things first, that hole there, and that hole there, and that hole there, and there's another one down here, they were my original seatbelt mounting positions for the car many years ago. This piece in the middle and that hole there, oh sorry, that piece in the middle there, that was for some structural triangulation that I did between the sides and there many years ago, which is all gone now. The hole in the middle there, that is for the pivot for my handbrake, which I'm halfway through sorting out, and my standard cable doesn't fit, so I'll be sorting that out at a later point. Right, this bar here, this rail here, you probably can't see it, but just sorry, that there is a piece of steel tube box section which I welded in yesterday, and there's another one on this side, and then this tubular box section goes the full width of the car. It's just held in place by welding magnets at the moment. Yeah, that's better. So you can see that short vertical-ish tube there, which I welded in yesterday, and the magnets are holding this bar which goes across the car and will act as my top rail for my bulkhead. And also I'll be using that as part of the structure for the seat belts. The rail, this horizontal rail here, is positioned so that I can still fold down the hood frame, and it gives me just a little bit of clearance there. So I'm giving myself the maximum possible amount of clearance, because once this hood frame has got a mohair cover on it or vinyl, whatever I'm deciding to put on, then it's gonna sit a bit higher than it does at the moment. So I'm taking that into account by positioning this rail at that height. So I'll be welding that in next. So that's the next certain piece that I need to weld in. So these are the seat belts that I'm using, secure on. That's the number 500/15. I'll put a link in the description below where to get these from, because I did find them on eBay, an eBay shop, at a very good price, much cheaper than Car Solutions. I think it is Car Builder Solutions. So I'll put a link on the description at the bottom. So these seats, Mazda MX-5 seats with the little headrest at the top, so they do fit perfectly in my car because of the modifications that I've done to it. So I will do a separate video on these because I wanted to try and retain the seat runners as standard without having to bend them and cut and change and weld up the seat runner, mainly because the seat belt socket, and that's the secure one, it bolts straight to the side of the seat, and that slides backwards and forwards with the seat, so it should give you a perfect fit. So the seat, that is roughly in, let's move this over, right, that's roughly in the right position. The angle is probably slightly further forward than I will be having it, but the angle of the seat is correct. So I've got some space behind the seat for a seat belt. Now these seat belts need to be mounted vertically, so I need to put something down there, weld some kind of structure down there to give me a vertical, secure, solid mounting, something that's welded back to the either the frame of the body, which is ultimately bolted to the chassis of the car. And I also need to somehow give this, although it's welded to the sides, I want to give this some triangulation and triangulate that back to somewhere at the back of the car. So I've been looking at how I can do that. So somehow I need to triangulate this rail back to the back of the car. So I need to triangulate this rail here, this new rail, to the back of the car somehow, and then also put a vertical upright to hold the inertia reel seatbelt in a vertical position so it can operate properly. And also it will need to come a bit higher than the side of the car in order to position the seat belt, the upper seat belt, because there's no B pillar on these cars, the upper seat belt probably about there, so it goes over the shoulder and doesn't slip down. So that's the challenge. So if we just turn our attention briefly to the back of the car, we've got this structure here. This is a 1982 Roger Blockley Gentry body tub, and this frame here sits the petrol tank. So it uses a Spitfire petrol tank, and it sits in this V here. And then these pieces here at the side, they are to hold the TF style tank and finisher panels. So that will look quite nice and neat. So basically, looking at this structure, it's a little bit flexible. i.e. it's not bolted to the chassis. This is bolted to the chassis there. So this is the rear chassis mount bolts. So what I'm thinking of doing is to make this a little bit more solid and to bolt this back to the chassis. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to make this more of a structural piece, so that I can use this piece coming up here, this angle iron piece coming up here, which if it's bolted there. Yeah, it's bolted there. That is so that's immensely strong there. Probably don't really need to do that, to be honest, but I think what I will be doing, just for belt and braces, that's how I am, I'll probably make a little V piece so that this will fit underneath there, and I'll cut a V in it so that this piece can sit into that. So I'll cut a little V in there, and then I'll bolt that to the top of the chassis, sort of there, but obviously sort of there, but obviously underneath this piece. So that's my thoughts, just to firm that up a little bit more. So back to this piece here. I think what I can do, I can come off this piece here and go through this bulkhead, and that will put me into the cabin with a piece of structural steel work. So I go over to the back of the car. That'll bring me through and into this space here, and then I can simply triangulate that back up to there. So from there, piece of steel up to there, and that will triangulate that back to the car, giving me some extra stiffness on that. And then also I'll be putting some cross brace, so I'll be putting a cross brace in there across the car as well. So that should be strong enough for seatbelt mount. So the finer details of that I need to sort out. And oh yes, one last thing. This is the larger angle iron that's used on the lower part of the body, which follows the line of the tub. So you know what section I'm talking about, and that just goes from one side of the car to the other. So what I'm thinking here is cutting this fiberglass away here and putting a plate or a box section going back, and because I've got plenty of room under the car there, because it won't interfere with anything on the rear wheel, so I could put some structure in there and weld up a box section so as it's solid there to actually mount the seatbelt on. So it could be a short little box just to mount the seatbelt inertia reel on, and then the top mounting will come up here. So it'll probably be a full height post, to be fair. So that's the thoughts anyway. So they're my thoughts on the seatbelt mounting position. So quite a bit of work I need to do. So what I'll do is I'll crack on with that and update you how it goes in a future video. So hope that's useful. That's my thought process anyway, and see you in the next one.